Well, there's some flexibility built into the rules to allow broadcasters to be as creative, positively creative about how you make programmes impartial. Now, could that be done within the programme somehow by having some sort of content that would reflect Mr Cameron's view? Would you do it outside the programme but in alliance with the main programme? That, I think, is a challenge to the broadcasters. If the Prime Minister is not going to turn up, how is his voice going to be heard either in the programme or around the programme?
But, I mean, you know, the hard choice is currently as planned, 7 days before polling, very sensitive time.
Yeah.
We could have an hour and a half of Ed Miliband broadcasting with an empty chair. Could that ever happen, do you think?
The question is, what would that look like as a programme? It would probably look like a pretty normal programme in which a politician meets an audience. I mean, we've been making programmes like that for 20, 30 years. I think the intriguing thing is, supposing that happened, and then the next morning David Cameron rings up and says, when do I get my go at that? Do they then say, oh no, you missed your chance, you should have been here last night, we won't do a programme like that with you? So there's a lot more games to be played. I think a lot more cards to be played by Number 10. People are kind of thinking this is the moment of truth and he has to decide is he going to turn up or not. But I'd be surprised if they haven't got a few more plan Bs up their sleeve.
Now, it matters to us as television news professionals. We think this is what television should be doing. Does it matter to the wider public, do you think?
Well, because we've had now a debate, or series of debates last time, which so captured the public mood, and particularly young people. Remember how young people were engaged in a way they've never been before. So to actually say to them, actually, we're not going to, you might expect you're going to get it this time round, but you're not, because one party leader chooses it's not in his interest to do it. You're taking a chance, aren't you, with what the public will make of that. Clearly, the Prime Minister's advisers think that's a chance worth taking. I just think that actually you can't put this issue to bed, because during the campaign, all the time, there'll be constant reminders that the Prime Minister hasn't turned up 3 times, if you like. He hasn't turned up. So it's not as though you can kind of bottle this and then say it's all over. It won't be over until virtually a few days before the election.
Now, of course, Downing Street say, well, yes, he will do a debate. That's what our final offer was about.
Yeah, and if I was them, I'd be trying to create some vehicle of some kind with somebody, either one of the broadcasters or more likely somebody who's not one of the broadcasters, that allowed me to say I did a debate. Whether it's before the campaign or after the campaign, I think that's the box that the Prime Minister needs to tick, but he may be able to create some other place, some other time, not one necessarily suits the broadcasters, that allows him to do that.
I mean, the odd thing is that the 2015 debates, to a certain extent, may have suffered from, second novel or second album syndrome, in as much as people are a bit bored by them, but this is actually whipping up the interest in them again.
Well, so it certainly is in the TV newsrooms of London. Whether the average viewers and listeners are connecting with it in quite the same way, I don't know. But they're certainly expecting it to happen, and if it doesn't happen, I suspect a lot of people are going to be disappointed, yeah.
So what does your gut tell you?
My gut tells me there's a wild card or two yet to be thrown in before this story finishes.
But do you think a debate or debates of some kind involving David Cameron and other leaders will take place?
I think something will happen that will allow David Cameron to say, I had a debate. Now, whether that resembles what you might think of as a debate...
Might be really fast from mirror.
Well, something like that. Yeah. He just needs to be seen to turn up somewhere at some date.
What about the risk for the broadcasters in pushing it in the way they have?
Well, people have said to me, what about the BBC Charter renewal that's coming up? My experience is, that sometimes when broadcasters take on politicians, actually the public sides with the broadcasters, and that just might happen on this occasion.